Queen Máxima, thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg TV. Now, it's been 15 years that you chose as one of your biggest passions trying to do work to get more people to have financial inclusion. Are you optimistic about the future? You've already done so much.
Well, yes, actually, when I started this work, it was less than 50% of the world population that actually had access to financial services that you and I give for granted every day. You know, being able to make a payment, being able to send money to your mother, get a credit, get an insurance, in case of accident, being able to save. All these things were actually for more than 50% of the world population not possible. And today, after 15 years, with a cooperation of many partners, World Bank, Gates Foundation, IMF, I can go on. We're at, next year we're going to have the next figures, and we're probably more than 80%.
I mean, this is huge because, again, it really touches the heart of livelihoods of so many people around the world. Was it a matter of getting, the awareness out there so that people understood, or was it really?
Well, first of all, the awareness. There was a lot of, those microcredit. We had to get out of the microcredit. Also, people needed savings, needed insurance, but also payments. Very important. You need to have the infrastructure of a country. It's like putting the rails in which you're going to have products and wagons sort of, riding on it, and that was not there in many of these countries. And now what you can see is, for example, a lot of countries say to me, well, now I can actually subsidize the poorest of the poor because they have a bank account on their phone. And I can actually directly send to them that subsidy or that remittance, or that credit for that little mini enterprise actually doing, or even insurance in case of climate change in the future. So these are issues that are extremely important. And without that access and that usage, it's not going to be possible.
So how much of this was actually getting the right infrastructure, or was it technology also that enabled it?
Very. It was infrastructure in all means. We actually sometimes call it now digital public infrastructure, having, an interoperable, affordable payment system, having connectivity, because we think that everybody has a smartphone. That's not the case. A lot of people, certainly the poorest, the women, and the smallholder farmers have less connectivity than the people in the urban areas. Issues like, for example, being able to open up competition, being able to actually have a fintech, a new entrance to the market. Sometimes a couple of financial service providers would actually holding the whole market and being able to have competition and open that and making that possible. It also brings new opportunities, but it also brought risks, cybersecurity risk, fraud. So getting all regulators to actually think in a different way about this and making it possible for these more affordable financial services has been really tremendous. And now we've actually seen more than 60 countries that have national financial inclusion strategies, and now they've been learning from each other, and we've facilitated that process very much.
Sometimes, Queen Máxima, it's very difficult to get the 10-20%. So you've gone from 50% financial inclusion to 80%. Are you confident that the trend is still more adoption for this final 20%?
Very confident. I mean, definitely it's the toughest group, sometimes women, the last mile, that sometimes also there's no connectivity in the phone. But I'm very sure that we're going to do it. I mean, it's a question of, we have everything in place. We have a lot of institutions that are specialized in these issues. We have people that are working, for example, have IDs. If you don't have an ID, you cannot open bank account. So, getting the IDs out there for everybody. Women actually make it sort of, much more, not only affordable, but also more accessible for women who are learning from each other. So I think that, I'm very positive that actually will be attained.
And again, so you talk about financial health, which is extremely interesting, especially when you look at some of the, SDGs and some of the big crises that we're actually dealing with at the moment.
Well, in the end of the day, financial inclusion is a means to an end. What I want in the end of the day, that households actually have everything so that they can actually manage the day-to-day expenses, they can invest in the future, and they can be able to protect themselves in cases of external shock, death in the family, drought, weather, climate change issues, and be confident, because stress is a very big factor here. And so I think the next part of my work will be looking at that outcome part. Are we giving them enough saving products? Are those saving products the right one? Are we helping them having sort of emergency buffers? 61% of American people do not have enough buffer. This is not an issue in Africa alone. It's a universal issue. So changing this mind of actually sort of, putting savings before credit, and starting to think about sort of, helping people to sort of build up those buffers. Do they have the right type of insurance? We have much more risk coming up, right? climate change, and also fluctuations in prices, inflation, we've actually seen that, this issue of resilience is extremely important.
Especially in these times, I mean, do you feel like the world economy, we're here in Davos, there's so much discouraging news because of conflicts, because of what's happening with the cost of living, because of inflation. Do you feel like your work is more important than ever?
Absolutely. And I think that's the reason why we've gotten so far, we have the rails, and now we really have to look at the products. We really need to look at, what tools do we give the people to really, really improve their lives and have really safe financial futures. That's what I want.
Does it directly translate into higher GDP? Or again,
Well, it is, for me, financial health in the realms of the financial sector. So, maybe I will not be able to do everything. I will not be able to increase their income, but with the income that they have, they can do much more. And that's what I worry most about.
Talk to me a little bit about AI. We're expecting it to transform the way we bank, the way some of the technology is used. Does that help or hinder actually what you're trying to do with financial inclusion?
It's like every new innovation. It brings a lot of promise. Maybe it can actually sort of help, use that data. A lot more people that actually never had access to credit because they don't have any collateral and they never had any sort of history of making transactions. Maybe AI is going to help, but it can also bring new exclusion types because they were not there. Maybe they're not going to take into consideration. So these issues need to be looked into. And we've actually seen with digitization, it brought more affordability, more accessibility, but it also brought more fraud. It also brought cybersecurity issues. So these issues, we need to balance them out. So the potential, the opportunities with the new risks.
Queen Máxima, when you speak to people that are trying to do good and have taken a cause, be it climate change or health or trying to give a better livelihood to people that need it most, they face struggled in the last couple of years because of COVID, because of lockdown. You and your cause has seemed to have thrived. What kind of advice would you give to other advocates?
Oh, no, I don't think I'm in any position to give anybody advice. I think that I've tried as much as I can, 15 years, to just keep on going and work together in coordination with a lot of partners that are doing this. Try to sort of, get people in, try to sort of really think about the end client. Actually, the ones that are going to be benefiting from it and never losing that sight from that. I think that's the number one issue.